Oh, thank you, Vanja. Hello, everyone. So glad to be here this evening. I'm McKenna. I work for People, Place and Participation, which is also known as Flows, the place in the park. So I'll just refer to Flows this evening. So Flows is based in Florence Park in East Oxford. It was set up by the community and for the community in this area. When the children's centres closed in 2018, the community here really felt that. So there was a great response and the community took over running this building in the beautiful park in Temple Cowley. And the aim really of the building was to try and create a hub in this area which was going to respond to the community need, but that would generate most of its income through community enterprise. So we run a cafe, a nursery, a shop, room hire, and the idea is to really generate income which then goes directly towards community projects and serving a social purpose. During COVID, we really became aware of the food injustice and food insecurity in this area. And I think COVID shone a light on that in a way which maybe hadn't been so obvious beforehand. So we partnered up with other local organisations to try and tackle that and effectively to try and defeat some of the food injustices and food insecurity in OX4. We've been doing that in lots of different ways, by providing hot meals to people, by providing food parcels, running community meals, cooking courses to upskill people. And perhaps what we're going to be talking about this evening is about also developing social enterprises which try and address these issues around food injustice and food insecurity. So what is a diversity-led food-related social enterprise? Well, these really are businesses that are putting communities experiencing These are businesses that are putting communities which experience disadvantage in the driving seat, which is why we've got a picture here of 3 founders of social enterprises in the driving seat, Nuha and Ella and Imade in the picture there. And they've all founded enterprises this last year which seek to use food to try and tackle some of the issues that their communities are facing. Flows has been supporting these projects, and to allow us to support these enterprises, we have fully equipped a production kitchen, which you can see in this picture here. And we also raised funds that allowed us to provide quite intensive support to 2 of the projects over the last year to support them with governance, setting up systems and processes, working alongside these people to be able to create their own social enterprises. I'll tell you briefly what each of them are doing. Damascus Rose Kitchen is set up by a group of Syrian refugee women living in Oxford who really wanted to create employment opportunities for their community and also to share their culture through their food. So last year they launched a catering enterprise called Damascus Rose Kitchen, and they now serve delicious Syrian food in Oxford. Novice Ice is, next slide, yes, Novice Ice is a social enterprise that makes healthy and sustainable ice lollies using local and surplus fruit in Oxfordshire. The idea of Novice Ice came from the founder's personal experience. Ella in the picture there, she'd been living with long-term health conditions such as epilepsy and anxiety, and found that there weren't really any spaces or products available for people in her situation. So she wanted to set up this enterprise which seeks to employ and support people who are living with long-term health conditions. Finally, Oxford Community Action is run by and for Black and minoritized communities in East Oxford. During the pandemic, they've been supporting people who have been struggling to access food, and they support up to 500 families a week. These are families who often have very little, maybe living in poverty, maybe living with trauma. There's a variety of complex challenges that these families face. And so Oxford Community Action have decided that in order to create sustainable income to fund this work that they're doing, they would like to set up a social enterprise selling culturally diverse food at the Gloucester Green Market. Now, there's lots of different stories of all the different people involved in these projects, but I'll briefly tell you the story of Zara. This is a picture of her, yes, cooking in the kitchen. So Zara is a woman who's been involved with Damascus Rose Kitchen. She fled Syria in 2016 with 2 of her sons. And sadly, she lost one of her sons in the war, and the other son stayed in Syria at the time. So when she arrived in the UK, she was very isolated and struggled a lot to meet people, both because of language barriers and also because of other cultural challenges around being a divorced woman who arrived by herself in the UK. So Zara's financial circumstances deteriorated and her health deteriorated, and she became depressed and reliant on medication. During 2020, during the pandemic, however, Zara was then able to use her brilliant skills in cooking and share her culture and her skills by becoming one of the first chefs at Damascus Rose Kitchen. So Nuha, who you this evening, I could hear myself. Hopefully you can only hear me once. I will try and carry on. So Zara then became one of the chefs at Damascus Rose Kitchen and works alongside Nuha and the rest of the team. And since then, her health has really improved. She's much more confident. She's not struggling so much financially anymore because she's got employment, and she's just much happier living in the UK. So that's a real success story for Damascus Rose Kitchen. So just to conclude, really, there's lots of reasons why these are great enterprises to support, but I think the sort of top 3 reasons for me really are, firstly, acknowledging that COVID is not over. Lots of the challenges are remaining around long-term health challenges. People are still living in very challenging circumstances in parts of Oxford. The cuts to universal credit have added to that, and many people are still living in poverty. These projects are all addressing those issues because they're trying to raise funding through trade in the city to then enable them to support those communities. Secondly, these projects aren't really about charity. They're really about equipping communities facing disadvantage to tackle those issues themselves and to lead that change and to generate sustainable income. And finally, these communities know what they need. By supporting Flows, you're going to support these 3 amazing projects, and it will make a really big difference to all of them and have a ripple effect for these communities and the people who are running the social enterprises. I'm delighted that I could present this evening, but I also would really encourage you to ask questions from Nuha and Imade from Oxford Community Action and Ella from Novice Ice, who are going to join me on screen, I think, for the question and answer section next. Thank you so much.